Yeah, 5 minutes, okay.
And I'm here about the Pierce Creek board and meeting and stuff that went on last week, okay? But before I start reading my little letter here, there's one thing that, and I don't know how this works, there's a thing that I have a question about and I'd like to actually have an answer about. And so like, how does a person go about getting an answer?
It depends on what the question is.
Okay, so here's the question. Last fall, I was riding there and my friend that I was riding with, Joyce Cruz, pointed out that all the signs that mark the trails that you're on have been taken down. She felt that Michelle, the director, did it, but I don't know that she knew that for sure. But my question is, why? Well, I have several questions. Why were they removed? And secondly, I'd like to know who removed them. And then where are the signs and are they gonna go back up? Because like if there's someone riding there or walking there, hiking there for the first time, and you don't know where you are, it doesn't make sense to me that they got taken down. And so I'd like to see them put back up, and I would also kind of like to know what happened to them. So I don't know, can I get an answer? Not obviously right now, but eventually.
You can look into it.
Yeah, okay, well, anyway. My concern is, about them being gone, is that it makes certainly a more confusing and less appealing place to hike or ride horses or whatever, so, okay. Thank you. Okay, I was in attendance at the Page County Conservation Board meeting held at Pierce Creek on May 7th. I hold Pierce Creek close to my heart, as I have spent a great deal of time volunteering, camping, picnicking, horseback riding there over the years. And I attended the meeting to support Pierce Creek Equestrian Horse Area. I left that meeting very sad and concerned, quite troubled by the gun club's relentless argument at the meeting, among other things. It was apparent that the gun club showed up at the meeting with a full intention to bulldoze the board into opening the gun range to the public for their personal use. Their relentless and strong arguing that the board was denying their Second Amendment rights did not make sense to me, as I am not aware of other public properties, parks, state recreation areas, etc., that allow for personal gun use. Furthermore, the Second Amendment only protects citizens' right to keep and bear arms. Keeping the range closed to the public does not, in my opinion, violate their rights, as they are free to keep and bear arms, just not fire those arms in a place that has been preserved and reserved by our state or county as a place of public peace, relaxation, and enjoyment. And yet, during the meeting, each and every time a consideration was spoken that was a concern or an opposing view, the gun club responded, sometimes quite loud and fervently, "That is a violation of our Second Amendment rights." It was said many times during the meeting. In no way do sporadic gunshots make for a peaceful, tranquil picnic, fishing, hiking, cycling, camping, or horse riding setting. The bottom line is that gunshots and relaxation in nature don't really mix. It certainly appeared to me that the board was kind of railroaded and pressured into voting to open the range. I know firsthand that Joyce Cruz's life was threatened and her horses' lives a while back on social media for her work to keep private guns out of the park. I have since heard that Danielle did not attend that meeting out of fear of voting against opening the gun range because of the threats that have come from the people wishing to have the gun range be opened for their personal use at a state recreation area or county or whatever it is. And speaking of life or death matters, opening the range to the public becomes a potentially dangerous issue for all of the other people wishing to use the park. Public shooting creates a dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation for picnickers, hikers, fishermen, horses, and their riders. The bottom line here too is that horses and gunshots don't mix well. If a horse shies or reacts to sudden gunshots, the risk of injury is greatly increased, and probably liability as well. My second concern is with Michelle, the park director. She left me stunned. Her level of defensiveness, anger, disrespect, self-righteousness, and an outright refusal to cooperate was almost beyond my grasp. It seemed as if she was there to make things at the horse park more difficult for everyone involved by throwing up roadblocks instead of making a sincere effort to better the park and to better relationships with those of us who have not only used the park, but have spent our own time, money, sweat, and donated the use of our own tools to help create and help maintain the beautiful equestrian area. For the past 3, years, there has been a national trail ride, a national organization that has held one of their trail rides there. And it's happening again, which I'm sure she's full aware of, this Saturday. And along about the 1st of May, a bunch of volunteers went to clean up the horse trails because nothing had been cleaned up since the April storm. And this trail ride, we wanted it ready for these people. So a really great bunch showed up and we did a great bunch of work and cleaned it all up. There were 2 national trail riding groups helping with it that day. They helped with the work, and both of those national organizations had their safety official present. So at the end of the day, everything is cleaned up, and both of those safety officials said, yeah, we're good, this is safe, this is good, we can go ahead with the ride. But Michelle closed the trail that we had worked on, deeming it not safe. And at the meeting, people said, both safety officers worked and to help with the work and all that, said it was fine. She's like, nope, not safe. And she would not listen to anything. She was just like this. So in my opinion, that night, she did not exhibit one quality that someone in her position as a public servant should uphold. In fact, her entire demeanor was quite the opposite of the qualities that someone in her position should have. The meeting got more and more disheartening as it progressed, but nothing compared to the moment when Mark Marriott said, I move that this meeting be adjourned and I'm going to resign in the morning. Heartbreaking. I'm asking for these things to be reviewed and reconsidered by you, the county supervisors, and the HR department. Gunfire at the park is an absolute safety risk and creates danger and a violent sounding atmosphere for park users, who also are, by the way, the taxpayers helping to pay for the park. And a park director with an angry attitude and a demeanor like Michelle has or had that night, and I've heard that this wasn't an isolated incident, makes it very difficult to fathom why she is being kept on in that position. She made it very clear that she's quite proud of herself, that she can run a chainsaw, and that she's physically tough. That is a quote from her that night at the meeting. But she doesn't appear to have a bit of care about the people, only about herself and her agenda. Please take a look at her in that position. She is certainly not good for public relations, and it sure looks to me like she is working against some aspects of her realm. It's a very sad and unfortunate state of affairs that anyone who now speaks out opposing gunfire at Pierce Creek has to fear repercussions. The fact that people who are threatening others are winning, and it makes me sick. I'm not going to use my name to sign this letter because I too am fearful to have my name attached to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a copy of my letter for you guys, but I only have, who's Todd?
Oh, hello. Oh, yeah.
I only had 2 names, so sorry.
Sorry.
You don't get one. Maybe they'll share.
Thank you.
Are you the auditor?
Is there any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on. Oops.
I don't have any fancy speech prepared or
I need
anything.
your name, please.
I'm sorry, I'm Rick Rivers,
Okay,
okay? And I was at the Pierce Creek meeting that's been referenced. I thought things got a little out of whack. Perhaps that's true, but I only heard one threat. And there was a woman who said the man who was speaking should be hung. He said, if I talk to you like this in another country, I could be hung. And one of the horsewomen said, you should be hung and now. I didn't say you did, I'm just telling you I did, and I don't hear well, but I'm not the only one that heard it. I've never threatened anybody over that range.
can you speak into the microphone, please?
I'm sorry. I've never threatened anyone over that range. I've shot at that range for 40 years. Okay, 10, 12 years ago, somebody decided to build a horse park. I don't have a problem with that. I had horses as a kid. I like horses. I just can't afford them. And I do other things. I fish, I hunt, I mentor kids. That's what I do. My interest in having a range open is I need a safe place to take kids and train them, okay? Because when I get ready to go on a mentor hunt with a kid, I want to know that when I put a turkey in front of him, he knows what that gun's about, he knows how to use it, and he can hit that target and be successful. In this area, that's our option. Now, I was told by Mark Marriott, the president of the board, take them to the public hunting ground. There's a place down there that's safe. It is not safe. It's not safe at all. It's a trash dump. And I told him that. I said, you sent me there. I took a mother and 3 children to teach them to shoot. And I laid down a mattress box and we shot bleach jugs that someone had left on a hill, which is ridiculous. We have a perfectly safe range that's been used for years without an accident. And I know it's become a hot button for a lot of people. When I was a kid, I shot rabbits off of my horse, but my horse was used to me shooting. I think that there's too much, nobody wants to give anything. That's just my opinion. And I'm on the committee to open the gun range, okay? I've also applied to become a member of the Conservation Board. If I do, I'll quit the committee, because I understand that doesn't go well together. But you know, when they went and did this 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever, I came here for 2 years to almost every meeting so that I could know what was going on, because I don't like to complain if I don't know what's happening. I went to that meeting the other night. I was not impressed, you know, but not all of us in the gun club that you call us have the same ideas. I'm sorry. Have the same,
Just
I'm
need to
sorry.
speak to the microphone, yeah.
Not all of us have the same ideas on how to present things, but this is America, and we're all allowed to voice our opinions unless something's changed, or you infringe on someone's rights. I don't think that really happened, but there's a lot of drama that doesn't need to be there. That's my opinion. I think there's place for both, a gun range and horses. I don't think that that's a big problem, and I think if you look at the safety record of the range, I've never seen an accident there, and I've never seen an ambulance call there. I have heard about some with the horse deal. I mean, a pheasant flushed and a horse threw somebody is what I was told. That's hearsay. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But I do know that that's probably on record, that there have been a couple of ambulance calls. Am I correct on that, or do you guys know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. And I'm not, like I said, I didn't witness it, so I don't know either.
Yeah.
It's what I've heard. But that's all I got to say. I hope you open the range. And I know it's not necessarily up to you, but it kind of is, because you decide who's on the board, who's not, and where it goes. Correct? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff Eshelman, Eshelman. I'm actually on the vice president of the Pierce Creek Shooting Club, reopening the range. I was at both meetings, the one in question that your director that you guys hired as paid staff was there, and she mentioned the safety concerns that she had. And I was there to talk about the gun range, but when she was talking about the closing all these trails because they were unsafe, they were washed out from rain and stuff, there was ruts in it. So that would be a safety concern, I would assume, for everybody, the horse traffic, the foot traffic and everything, and that would create a liability, especially when she identified these safety concerns. She closed these trails because of the safety concerns, but the president or chairman, Mark Marriott, said you're not allowed to close those. So I guess I'd like some clarity on that. Does she have that authority to close those for safety concerns? Because my point was, if she closes this for safety concerns and you say, no, you can't do that, we reopen these trails, somebody gets hurt, there's your liability, right? I mean, that's just common sense to me. But I guess I'd like to know if she has that authority. She's a paid employee of the county. The board are appointed by you guys. The conservation board is appointed by you guys. So they had authority to not necessarily close the range, but they had a vote. What we did as a committee, we have arranged the old SOPs, standard operating procedures, and added a lot more safety culture to it. It was not, my opinion, not very well written. It was, so we added a lot of safety concerns to it. We also said that we'd love to have it open. We said we'll work with the equestrian club. There's 7 days in a week. We would just like to have it open 3 days a week. You can have the other 4. We would like to be able to practice out there. I'm on a safety, a security team for my church. I'd love to be able to train the staff that are carrying firearms on how to shoot so we don't have improper discharge. And that is a certified gun range, and it has been certified. All we did was update the SOPs at the meeting at the So back to the conservation meeting at their conservation office, when your director brought up these safety concerns, she was belittled and literally harassed by another member of the conservation board who has since resigned. And man, I had to stand up. I mean, that was a guy that was really being very mean to an employee of the county. And he being just an appointed person. That's, I mean, I'm not trying to belittle him, but he has since resigned as a result of that. I guess, and then at the meeting up at the equestrian park, it was great to see the award that Joyce was given. She's well-deserved. She's put a lot of work into that. It's beautiful. The area is beautiful. There's a lot of money that has been spent on that equestrian park. So that's why we don't oppose, you know, why can't we all get along? You know, I mean, there's no real reason why we can't exercise our Second Amendment right, practice what we're doing. It's a certified gun range. It's a safe range with berms set up. So there's literally no liability. The county's insurance agent has said that if there is, God forbid, an accident there, we have first responders that are on the committee. We have, I'm a first responder, former firefighter, trained in stop the bleed if God forbid something happens. There's going to be range safety officers. We have a total, if I remember right, 12 RSOs and 8 to 10 CRSOs, which are trainers. They can train anybody that wants to be a range safety officer. So there's always going to be staff on duty. We'll have our hours posted. So back to the equestrian meeting. I'm trying to keep us under our 5 minutes here. Our meeting up at the equestrian club, we just asked for the board that was in attendance. So there was, I know 2 members of the conservation board had resigned prior to the meeting, but there were 3 members on duty, what do you want to call it, during that meeting. So that develops a quorum and the vote so we asked them to approve the SOPs so that we can open the range. We can start working on cleaning it up. It's kind of a mess. It's been not a lot of garbage, but there's weeds growing where there shouldn't be, trees, you know, random trees growing and stuff. So we want to clean it up, the park as well, and we've got volunteers to do that. So I just ask that you stand behind the decision that was made by the conservation board, because they did have a quorum. Thanks for your help.
Do I have any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on.
I'm sorry. One other question I would ask, if there were legitimate threats against Joyce or against any member of them, I hope to God they filed a police report or something, because that's not good if that happened. So somebody should go to jail if they legitimately threatened somebody. Okay? That's not what we represent.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on with our agenda. So JD.
Good afternoon, J.D. King, Page County Engineer. It's another fine day in Page County. Nice summer day in the spring. The engineer update went out yesterday afternoon with a couple attachments. We're hauling rock up in the north central part of the county with even extra trucks from Normal. And we also had some trucks hauling shoulder rock to our stockpile down on J64, which will be used for shouldering. The blades were out, although later this week without any rain, we'll probably pull those off. We're running our spray patcher, although he was interrupted today to do some cleanup on the pavement, or we spilled some DDGs out on J20. I've got no mowers running. That's an operational issue, and that's why I had extra trucks hauling rock. We did have a right-of-way or an intersection improvement at 230th and Maple Avenue. It turned out very well. The truck drivers have one less place to watch out for with that enhanced radius. And later this week, I'll have a new blade operator attending a motor grader operator school. Got a couple more tractors in the shop. One was fixed on Monday, but we still have one down with an air conditioner problem. Pickup was serviced last week, and the online auction for several pickups and the belly dump concluded today. The total sales are with the pickups, 3 pickups, a belly dump, and a small tractor blade was around 20,000. There'll be a commission taken out of that for the sellers. Essex Bridge the deck was poured last Tuesday. The curing period is over, so they're pulling the burlap off to dry that back out. They did pour some concrete today on the posts of the open rail. There'll be numerous iterations of that, pouring posts and rail until the open rail is done. Not mentioned in the update, but the Essex School was with that whine. You guys hear that?
I can hear it.
Anyway, the Essex High School chemistry class is going to come out to the bridge next Tuesday morning. We're going to talk about the chemistry of concrete. We're also working on closing out the highway safety project down on J64. And the DOT approved our DOT budget amendment for FY25. That's what I handed out. I can talk about it now. I can talk about it during the agenda time for it, or I can talk about it next week when it'll be on the agenda. What's your
You
preference?
can go ahead and talk about it if you want to.
You have two papers, double-sided. There's the original FY25 DOT budget and the amended one, labeled such on the upper right-hand corner. And on the expenditure side, the 2 green highlighted items are what's been amended. Add $100,000 to the bridges and culverts line and $100,000 to the new equipment line. We bought extra large tank cars, which I skipped talking about up by Hepburn. And we had this, the used truck was not budgeted for, so I amended the budget to take care of that part. Questions from me?
Questions? Question, Todd?
No,
No?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, JD. Okay. Okay. Our next agenda is Conservation Board vacancy. And we are in the process of taking applications for conservation. we only at this point have one Conservation Board vacancy that has been turned in. We've not returned the other two. Right, go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I've only received one resignation letter.
Okay,
And I've talked to Charlie, and she was going to reach out to the others.
okay. So we'll be in the process of taking applications at this point. So we can't do anything until we receive any resignations. So our next agenda item will be the budget amendment. So go ahead, Kristen.
And we just need to set a date, June 3rd at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
So we just need a motion.
okay, could I have a motion for the budget amendment hearing?
I'll make a motion that we have the budget amendment hearing on June 3rd at 4 PM.
Okay.
Second.
Second,
And that's
okay,
the fiscal year 25.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Brian? Aye, and aye. Okay, so we'll have that budget amendment hearing on June the 3rd at 4 PM.
A regular meeting to follow.
Right, okay. Okay. All right, so we'll have that. Our number 8, our next discussion action is the redrawing of district lines for the resolution number 19. For that, we have resolution number 19. In this, we have, be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of Page County, Iowa, sitting in session on the 13th of May, that the following appointments are made to the Temporary Redistricting Commission. And in that, we have 3 suggestions, or 3 appointments by the Republicans and 2 by the Democrats. Patty Ballinger, Jeff Clark, and Carla Edwards from the Republican, and Amy Zollers and Lloyd Hersberg from the Democrats. And that's resolution number 19, dated the 13th of May, 2025.
And these are names we have to go with?
Yes. These are suggested, these are,
Yeah, so I talked to
Well,
both parties,
there's-
and these are the names that they.
Does Iowa code allow us to change
No.
names?
no,
We
they're,
have to go by what the central committees,
yes.
okay.
Can I ask a question? Does that not create a conflict of interest being Judy Clark's son being one that's going to remap the district?
No, I could have been on there, because it also says that one of the people on the Board of Supervisors could have been on it,
No,
so I could have been on it.
for that
Yeah.
selection, for that
Any,
remap.
any 3.
We were fighting back and forth, but no.
Yeah. No, I-
No, it was the chairman of the Republican Party that did it.
And I had told Brian that any 3, he could nominate one of the supervisors as well, so he did
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah,
And I will say, just because I know, let's see, when was the last one we did? I was mentioned.
in
to be-
21.
Yeah, so I was, well, I think it's maybe, yeah. So I know I was mentioned at one time to be on it,
And I was too.
and I think I was kicked off.
I was too.
Because now, in hindsight, I understand that the optics could have looked bad. I do feel that a lot of this has to go through the state. So the state has final say. It's not like, and us 3 couldn't be on the board and say, yep, we want to draw it this way because we like these people, we want these people to vote for us. And so I don't think there's any, it's a pretty strict process,
And
from what I
I had
understand.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
So
and
there,
so,
Goes by populations.
right, and it goes by population, so
Yeah.
there's gonna have to be 5 districts of equal population.
Right,
And somehow that's gonna have to come out in the wash, and
Yep.
there'll be time for people to look at it and the state to look at it, and there has to be a lot of approvals.
And there'll also be public hearings.
Yes.
Yes.
So people can come and talk about that as well.
Yep.
2 of these members are from Shenandoah, 2 are from Clarinda, and 1 was from Essex. And I did ask that they try to make sure that the entire county is represented, not just a section.
So with that, I'd make a motion that we pass resolution 19-25.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Okay, Todd. Todd,
No.
okay. Okay, our next item of business is board communication.
I'll just start out. I took several phone calls, so if it wasn't about the conservation board, it was about the wind turbines starting to move dirt and things. There was some questions brought about the settlement agreement and if that was posted on the website, so I reached out to Kristen and wanted to make sure that that's not me, that's weird. Wanted to make sure that that was posted where everybody could see it, and also.
And it is not posted.
It is
So
not.
If you guys want it posted, you just need to let me know.
Okay, yeah, I think we probably should have it posted. If it's not, so I think our new ordinance that we had was already posted,
The
so,
ordinance is on
but
the
not the
website.
settlement changes that
Settlement.
we made.
Correct.
And that's what people need to understand and know.
So
and so,
if
yeah,
that's what
so-
you guys want, I can have them at it.
Yeah, I think that needs to be added. I also did reach out to Kelsey Ballard, who is the director of the project for Mid-American. And she could not be here next week, but she is planning on being here on the 27th, either in person or via Zoom. And she will try to work out a schedule so that she can give us either weekly updates, give the public weekly updates so we kind of know what's going on as far as that goes. I did call JD as well because I wanted to talk about how do we enforce the findings and the placement of the turbines, and how do we make sure that those placements are accurate and correct as far as what the map says and what our ordinance and our settlement says. And so I think it'll be good to maybe get everybody in a room and figure out how we're going to make sure that those are in where they say they're gonna go, and any deviation from those spots needs to be communicated to the board, at least, if it's closer, I'd say take it down, but if it's, farther away, that's nice too, but if something comes up that they can't put it where they thought they could. And I think just from a public standpoint, there's a lot of questions. Everybody started seeing dirt move, and there was concerns. And so I think just from a public standpoint, the more communication we get out there, the more Mid-American continues to update the public on what the project is and what's going on with it, that will help eliminate any or alleviate any worries and things. As far as, yeah.
She'll be here on the 27th.
The 27th,
Okay.
yes. Yep. And as far as the conservation board thing goes, the meeting, I wish, one of us could have been there. I do know the conservation board acts independently of the supervisor board, and, there's reasons for that. So, it's disheartening to hear all the issues, because I think it went away for a while because the gun range wasn't going, and things had kind of settled down and smoothed out, and we had a really good board that was had been, set in Conservation Board, and I think most of those people had good intentions and their hearts were all in the right spot. So it's frustrating to have resignations after one meeting. And like I said, I'm hoping when Michelle gets back from vacation, we'll have some discussions. And I think that will help everybody understand what the bar is set at, what we think should be happening from a board standpoint, what the expectation is for her job, and also probably need to decide, what final rules, to your point, Jeff, what final rules does she have to make on safety? I know, just from a benefit of the doubt, she's probably always gonna err on the side of caution. So, and that, I would expect nothing less from a director that has a lot of responsibility. So, now the question is, the people that came out and volunteered and did a lot of work on the trails and things, was there, did she go out and look at that work over? Was it up to par? Did it, I know she couldn't be there for some reasons. So I think there's a lot of things that there's two sides to every story. So, we're getting two sides. So it's kind of trying to figure out, where our role as a board sits and where the Conservation Board sits, and how do those two interact and work together. And so.
And the future Conservation Board.
Right, yeah, yep. So, I mean, I would love to have, everybody be able to work together. I would love to be able to find a different park to put the gun range, possibly. So it's not interfering with the equestrian. If you could do something else. Well, whatever, yeah, so,
Which one's been there long?
Yeah.
Which one's grandfathered in?
Well, and that's just, there's options. And I think if we put our heads together, we can come up with options that'll work for everybody.
That's why I said, work together.
And it definitely isn't taking anybody's Second Amendment right away.
Yeah, it is.
Just not by not having a shooting range, it's not. You can still have guns. I have guns, I shoot at my own property.
Right.
So it doesn't stop me from doing that.
Okay, I would suggest that you guys talk to the county attorney and see what he says about that.
We're not required to have a gun range in our county that I know of. I don't know any regulations saying we have to have a
The
gun
one you
range.
got is not closed,
Right,
so let's use it, it's public ground, it's a public range, certified public range.
yep.
I had one whole day of phone calls also from the conservation people, horse people, gun people, conservation people. It wasn't something I wanted to hear, and it was stories on all sides of the whole thing, and it was not a good thing. It was not. It was he said, she said, they said. This person did this person did this, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all, and it's not a good thing for the Conservation Board. It's not a good thing for people to be quitting. It's not a good thing for our conservation director. The whole thing is not good. It's not a good thing of people to be threatening other people. It's not a good thing for people to be yelling at each other. It's not a good thing of people talking about militia. It's not a people of Second Amendment rights. It's not threatening. It's just not a good thing, period. And I didn't like to hear any of this, and I don't like any of this in Page County, and I don't like threats. I don't like people quitting. I don't like, any of it, and it's not necessary. And I just don't think it's necessary. So I think we need to work together, and we don't need to be saying, he said, she said, they said, whatever. So, no, I don't want to hear any more tonight.
This is a public building.
It is,
comments
and
are
we've,
for
and we've heard it, we've heard it. We've heard it all, and I heard it the other day, and I keep hearing it, and I just don't think we need to hear any more tonight. So, I think that we need to work together, and when Michelle gets back, we will all talk together and we'll see where we go with it. But, we just have a lot of things to do, and we need to work together. So we will be talking to the county attorney, we will be talking to insurance, we will be talking to conservation, and we'll be working on things together. So is there any other board communication? Anything, Brian? Anything else, Todd?
Well, I had
No.
meetings.
Can I make a comment about something Todd mentioned?
You what?
Can I make a comment about Todd's?
If you want to get up,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did have somebody just right before.
And you are, go ahead.
Terry Phillips?
Yes,
I recently ran into an issue with the wind farm.
okay,
In the last 2 days, they have started moving a lot of dirt. Now, ordinances, the only ordinance I can find on the Page County website lists a setback of 1 mile
right,
from a non-existing property, or non-participating.
non-participating. Mhm.
Now, everybody keeps referencing a 2,600-foot setback. The only reference I can find to that is in your lawsuit settlement. I cannot find an updated ordinance listing that 2,600-foot setback.
There's the 1 mile.
Yeah, and so that's where, so our ordinance that we created, and then there was the big lawsuit, and we ended up settling and reducing that 1 mile setback. Then it reduced back to the half mile, the 2,600 feet. So that was in part of the settlement that did not get posted on the website as the updates.
The settlement
So-
is posted, but there's no ordinance stating, in any of the ordinances stating that 2,600 feet.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe Jim can help too with that, but I don't know if we have to put that settlement into an ordinance, or is that something that's added, that's just grandfathered in from now our ordinance that we made this past year stays. So any future wind turbine projects or anything that happens would have to follow that ordinance. This one, since the timing was that it was before, with the old ordinance, and that was the discrepancy, is when we changed the ordinance, why did we change it, and that sort of thing. Then that one, for this wind project, they are resorting back to those guidelines and that old ordinance, which I think is still posted as well, maybe, or not, the old ordinance. But part of that negotiation that we did was settlement, because we didn't want the 1,300 feet or 1,200 feet, whatever it was originally in the original ordinance. We got it to go 2,600 feet on most of the turbines. And so that was part of the settlement, and along with reducing the number of turbines in the county. So that, don't think that settlement piece has to be interjected into a new format of an ordinance. It just kind of goes side by side, and it says the Shenandoah Hills Wind Project falls under this settlement agreement between the two companies, or
That's not even mentioned in any of the ordinances, that the settlement supersedes the ordinances that I've seen.
okay. I'll take a look at it. We'll try to straighten it out a little bit. But is that, will that survive? Like, if I can find the information and get it to you, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then putting off checking location
Yep, which,
is delaying things really bad, as a lot of dirt is being moved right now, just within, and I question the 2,600 feet, just within my neighborhood. Probably today, they're done moving dirt and we'll start digging a hole for foundations. So if we put off checking distances,
might be too late.
it might be too late, yes.
Okay.
I know, and I talked to Todd last night, I know It's real close from my non-participating property line to Tower 14. If it's 2,600 feet, I'd be surprised. I thank you for looking into this and actually getting JD to do some checking on locations, because he's behind the ball evidently.
He's doing it.
Yep, so, yeah, he has, now, he did mention to me that he'd been driving down there, he'd been around and seen, right now, they're just kind of putting in the access roads.
Well,
So he's been making sure they're doing that correctly, so.
they've moved to Hilltop already
Yeah,
within, like I said.
so I don't know if that's an access road back to farther back on that hill, or is it,
No, they're moving to Hilltop.
okay,
They're creating a flat work area. And then a mile west of me, they've got another one but that's outside the limit.
yep, okay. We'll definitely try to check and get some answers and get some stuff posted. And
All right,
let
thank you
I'll
for
let
your
you know when
time.
it starts showing up.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, we'll move on to discuss action, meeting minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Those are from the 6th.
Yep, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, meeting to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor to adjourn at 4:53?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.